We continue to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host English News
and a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, my dear brothers, sisters, and my fellow Americans of United States. And I know that you always care. You all care about politics, and especially now, at the time of election. I believe 2020 election started early.
Yeah.
Right now, we're talking about we're right in the middle of the heat of the 2020 election. So with me today is a good friend of mine, is a friend of you, I believe, and will be representative for you for the 28th Congressional District, Mr. Chang Hollis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, good. And we also thank you, Wolfers. Thank all Wolfers for supporting this show by exclusively sponsored. Wolfers is the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry that has for 400 years of glorious history and handmade by 10 generations of the #1 craftsman on the global earth.
Wow.
And they are supporting us. So we're getting more important anyway. I'm kidding. We're still we, right? Okay, now, to start the show though, I always like to ask you questions, candidates, every time you campaign, who you are, what have you done, what will you do, and why you're running, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And including all information about yourself. You know, in terms of voting, of talking to your constituents, though, you always want to make them know more about you, as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Something like that, right? You may start now. Feel easy, please.
Yeah. My name is Chang Hollis. I'm running for Congress against Adam Schiff. I was born and raised here in California, not too far away from Los Angeles in the Central Valley, in Fresno actually. And I have worked in the TV and film industry for about 10 years now. Yeah.
TV and the film industry.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I started as an assistant director, worked my way up to production managing, and then I stepped into location managing on the union side and wound up working with some of the biggest shows and the biggest studios in the business. Yeah, and I've
for how many years?
It's been about 10 years now.
For 10 years. All right. Okay, good, very good. And you're still currently doing the job on the job.
Yes, we're still working in the industry. Although it looks like I'm going to have to transition away from that because, as we all know, Hollywood doesn't really like conservatives all that much.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's inertial force pushing.
Absolutely.
Anyway. Right. Anyway, so about your politics, how come you started the interest of doing politics?
Well, honestly, politics, I've always been interested in it from when I was young. I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh with my grandfather and calling into local talk radio shows when I was around 12 years old just to give my opinion. But it's not something that I thought I was going to get into, or if I was, it would be later on in my life. But what ended up happening is Adam Schiff wound up on TV for the past 3.5 years pushing the Russia investigation. And I sat and watched as our district slowly started to fall apart. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get Adam back to the district because he's dealing with all of that. And when I started to look at who would step up to try to help the district out, there were no real candidates out there that spoke to me or that spoke to the demographics in our district. And so I felt that it was time that somebody stood up and actually fought for the people instead of just fighting for their own agenda.
All right, I started to see a little more about your picture. In other words, you're saying you're not a politician.
No, sir.
Right?
No.
You were in a better term, you're an upset voter?
Yes, I am a disgruntled voter, to be perfectly nice about it.
Oh, that's the right term, right?
Exactly, yeah.
How disgruntled you are?
Well, I'm disgruntled enough to put my career at risk. Because, like I said, in Hollywood, they don't like conservatives. They especially don't like it when you stand out and you start to make a little bit of a ruckus.
You're right.
And I've experienced
However, you're afraid
that.
to go on the left.
Yes, I've been afraid of the left for some time, primarily because we've watched as California Democrats have started to push further towards socialism. And that's not something that I support or that I ever will support. I believe that, that our system, we're a republic for a reason, and we are based on capitalism for a reason, because we've seen through the course of history what happens when countries implement the policies that the Democrats are trying to implement.
Are you aware that by exposing yourself that much to the quote-unquote mainstream of California, it is a rather risky job?
It is.
Or risky choice?
It's been one of the most interesting experiences of my life since day one. A lot of things have changed, a lot of relationships have changed, and I've been introduced to a side of Los Angeles that I didn't know existed. And that side is that of keeping people's opinions suppressed. My district is terrified of the Democrats. They're terrified to even put an R next to their name because they're afraid of what will happen to them. They're afraid they'll lose their job. They're afraid, and they're afraid they'll lose family. They're afraid they'll lose friends. They're afraid they'll get sued. Which all of those things I've seen and I've experienced with people. I got fired off of one of the shows that I was working on because of the campaign. Wasn't given a reason, wasn't given a cause. It happened right after we raised a tremendous amount of money for the campaign, and shortly thereafter, the next day actually, I was let go. So we're experiencing it on a daily basis, and it is getting a little bit worse, but at the end of the day, doing the right thing isn't easy, and nothing gained was ever given to people.
That's why you told me to name the show with the title, Let's Do It Right.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, my dear friends, in the talking about Let's Do It Right though, I came across a friend of mine, Mr. Chang Hollis, and he made it such a statement that he will run into the risk of risking his career. Well, that's really a slogan, that's really a banner. I would like to talk deeper into it. What if something really happened to you, like last time you were fired on one job, because of your political take?
Well, unfortunately, and I don't want to name names.
Of course, without naming names,
what I've seen over the past few months since I decided to jump into the race is a shift in perception of who I am, primarily because of the marketing that Hollywood has put out about what conservatives are. Now, for 10 years, I haven't talked about politics on the job whatsoever. No one knew I was a conservative because I didn't make it a part of my job. I don't think that you should be judged at work for what you believe in politically. That's not okay.
Exactly.
So it wasn't until I decided to file to run that people knew I was conservative. And even after filing to run, I still didn't talk about my campaign or talk about politics while I was on the job. I keep those two things separately. And I think we've lost track of that in this nation. I think we have put so much impetus on what people believe politically and how that shows their personality or shows who they are as just a human being, when in actuality we can all disagree about things. And we've lost that ability to disagree.
Have you formed a team yet?
Yes, we have a team that's growing by the day. Luckily, over the past few weeks since the Ukraine investigation is launched, we have seen a tremendous amount of support flowing into the campaign, both monetarily, also though with resources that are coming our way as well.
I see.
And so the team started, very small a couple of months ago. We hired some digital fundraisers and a couple of consultants to come on and help us, get to the next level. And now that we are showing that we have a shot, other people are starting to reach out, and I think we're going to see the campaign grow tremendously over the next 2 months. And I think a lot of people are going to realize that we're for real, and we have the people behind us.
To be honest with you, I started like your position, like your tone already.
Thank you.
because I do not see you. I didn't see you flaunting your banner, high tone, high pitched voices.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, you, well, kind of sound not a politician to me.
Well, that's the
Especially-
point.
yeah. And you only portray yourself as a upset voters.
Yes.
I believe in California, especially in Southern California, there are more upset voters than one, more than one. I believe lots of people are kind of getting worried, and the trepidation is going on and on. To me, my trepidation started at the point with the third bathroom. When the third bathroom became law,
Yeah.
I started to worry.
Yeah.
Right. I used to be on the left a little bit, but right now I'm no longer on the left or right. I try to go straight forward. Okay. Let's take a short moment now. I noticed just now you mentioned a few important stuff, such as the Ukraine investigation. I will check with you how much you know about Hunter Biden, right, versus the investigation of Donald Trump, and I would like to take your take.
Absolutely.
Would that be fine to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Very good.
Let's talk
Okay,
about
my friend, my lovely audiences, let's take a short break. We will be right back.
Everything continue to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host this news every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the show. East West, Jack Chow, your host. The show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry with 400 years of history that is hand-forged by 10 generations of number one craftsmen on the global earth. Together, they stand for a testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. Back to the show. With me today is a candidate of Southern California for the Congressional District of the 28th, future Congressman, Mr. Chang Hollis.
Thank you.
Chang Hollis portrayed himself, and he said in the very beginning, he's not a politician at all. He's only a voter, however upset.
Yeah.
All right. In other words, it's an upright thing. It's an upright thing, right? Good. Back to the point. Okay, I would like to continue with you, checking your position by exchanging views over some certain issues. How about that?
Absolutely.
Right. That would be more legit, right?
Definitely.
All right. Good. Now, you mentioned about Hunter Biden. You mentioned about Ukraine investigation, though. What is your take?
Well, honestly, we've seen, as the whistleblower complaint has come out, as the transcripts have come out, that there's been this concerted effort to push media attention to the parts of the story that aren't necessarily the focus of it. If you look at the transcript, you can see clearly that...
No, put the whistleblower aside a little bit.
Yes.
Let's focus on the Hunter Biden's part.
On Hunter Biden's part,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, we can see through this whole thing, and we can see actually from media over the past 10 years that Hunter Biden has had incorrect behavior when it comes to his father's position of power and his father dealing with these countries. Hunter Biden, obviously, as we all know, has his own issues. He's been very forthright about that I will give him. They even released a story when his father decided to run for president this time, kind of detailing all of the issues that he's had in the past, trying to get in front of the story. But what they haven't been forthright about are his business deals and his ties to all of these companies that his father just happens to be in the same country doing business with as well. I think when you talk about, for example, Adam Schiff has been ranting and raving against the president for 3 years. And one of those issues was the emoluments clause. And I think it's very obvious that Hunter Biden was essentially breaking the emoluments clause while his father was the vice president of the United States. Now, the funny thing about it is the media has decided to focus all their attention on that. But Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, they're the beginning of the problem. They're it's almost like the framework of the problem. In actuality, there's way more to this Ukraine issue. And that is why the Democrats are really losing their minds in front of us and going on this impeachment journey that they can't really support. And Hunter, he has a lot of culpability. And just him coming out and saying, you know, oh, I'm really sorry, the optics of this look bad. It's way more than that. You need to tell us where the 1.5 billion went in the Ukraine. You need to tell us where another 1.5 billion went out of China. Like this is getting ridiculous. I mean, and the fact that the Democrats won't legitimately look at this and say, you know what, you're right.
Let me insert a little bit. Forget Democratic, forget Republican, forget all politics. Let's talk about common sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes my experience tells me on the job for this many years, talking to so many number one brand people, that common sense sometimes makes better sense.
That's true.
Right? Now, as far as you know, as far as the news media served with all the information, or anybody knows, is Hunter educated with any knowledge of natural gas?
Not that we've seen. I mean, he went to Yale, so obviously he has some smarts.
Was Yale
but they didn't teach him anything about natural gas.
Was Yale teaching him natural gas?
No, not at all.
All right, good. And has he been experienced on the job of leading a company doing natural gas?
No, never before the Ukraine.
All right, good. The same thing, all right?
Yeah.
If you say, hey, Jack, I will assign you on an important job with EDI, continue doing what you do.
Yes.
I'll say, yes, thank you, sir. I'll do my best. I'll turn out something, the best of my outcome.
Exactly.
Right. Somebody asked, say, Jack Chow, you're assigned to an orchestra. You'll be the leading conductor of that orchestra.
Yeah.
I will run away. Not even for the money. No, not even for the money. Because somebody will kill me.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be.
The conductor will kill me.
It's going to be very prevalent very quickly that you don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly. And Hunter Biden has shown on several occasions
so
that
on
he doesn't know what he's doing.
I need you to take. Do you or do you not agree with me? By using or by applying common sense, the answer is already there.
Absolutely. He doesn't, from what we've seen, he doesn't know anything about natural gas. From what we've seen, he doesn't know about anything about venture capitalists.
Or maybe I'm wrong, or we are wrong.
Maybe
Sometime
we are. Maybe
we'll find out he had 3 years of training on natural gas somewhere, somehow. Right?
So somehow it'll leak out. Randomly.
It will. Yeah.
Honestly,
if that happens, I'm sorry. I advance my apology.
Exactly. But he's already admitted that it was a mistake for him to take that job. He admitted that today. And that's the problem, is now that all of the light is being shined on them, they're starting to crack under the pressure. And it's obvious that there are these pay-for-play schemes that have been around for a very long time that date back to multiple administrations, and
with or without investigation, we may even forget investigation.
Exactly.
Common sense there that serves as the answer.
Yeah.
Right now, let's talk about the whistleblower, though. So, have you read the script?
I have. I've read the transcript several times.
I did too. Yeah. So your comment?
Well, what I'd noticed about it immediately, because I actually heard the news report before I read it, like everyone else, and the news report focused solely on Joe Biden. And when I read the transcript, it wasn't until, I think, 2-3 pages later that Joe Biden is even mentioned. In actuality, what this was all about was 2016 and the attack on our election system. And it said right there on the first page, President Trump is talking to the Ukraine about what happened in the 2016 election, about CrowdStrike, and about all of these other things that helped Hillary Clinton. And so what's interesting to me is for 3.5 years, we've seen Adam Schiff and his cohorts do an investigation on election interference. Well, the president's asking for the same thing, except he's asking it from the people who actually know about it, and not from all of these fake investigations. And I find it very interesting that shortly after he calls for the investigation into the 2016 election, after the Russia investigation turned out to be a dud, all of a sudden they try to flip the script on him and they implement impeachment hearings. But what we're seeing now is you have Nancy Pelosi's son, John Kerry's son, you have Adam Schiff's staff, and you have Joe Biden's son, all connected to Ukrainian gas companies and Ukrainian businessmen. So at some point, like you say, common sense has to take over, and we have to realize that there's something more at play here that we're not being told the truth about. And that has to stop. The American people are tired of being lied to. That's why I'm running.
Thank God you mentioned Nancy Pelosi. Do you recall the announcement by Nancy Pelosi of the impeachment happened one day before the content of the transcript was published?
Yes. According to her, she hadn't seen it. According to her, she hadn't seen it, which is horrendous. You're going to start an impeachment inquiry without seeing the evidence. Now, what we know now, that was probably a lie, because Adam Schiff also said that he didn't have any contact with the whistleblower, but we found out that his office did.
No. Let's say even if they did, they did not see, unless they saw more than what we do.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. Now, nothing will prove that they saw more than we do. What the public raise are the same thing they raise, right? Now, let's see. The fact was that Nancy Pelosi convinced and recognized or says whether admitted that she did not see.
Yeah.
And yet to launch something that big, an impeachment, as big as impeachment, without seeing. I need your comment for the motive, please.
Honestly, it feels like the motive is part of a smoke and mirrors sideshow. I think the president and the administration are really hitting on something big in the Ukraine that is going to date back to the last administration. And I think that Nancy Pelosi and the leaders of that party are getting really scared. The fact that she would open an impeachment inquiry without seeing the evidence. Yeah,
that is my question.
Once
again, I take no stand.
Absolutely.
Once again, I ask questions by not placing myself on either side.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm just saying, why would somebody do something without seeing anything?
It doesn't make any sense.
I can accuse you for robbing a bank last night, and yet I did not see.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. But I didn't see whether you robbed a bank last night.
Exactly. I heard there was a bank robbery, so it must have been you, right?
It must be you, yeah.
But that's not how it works.
The logic, the common sense, once again, we're talking about.
And Nancy Pelosi has thrown common sense out the window.
Okay, very good.
And she showed that during the announcement, because the announcement didn't start with the impeachment announcement. It started
when I
with
saw
drug
the
prices.
I immediately the idea immediately came upon me and say, why will somebody do something, start something without seeing any evidence? Okay, my dear friends, let's take a short moment out. We will come back. It looks like the answer is not that difficult to find. Just follow the trail. Follow the trail of common sense.
Exactly.
Be right back.
Everything we have continued to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host English News here in the morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely fellow citizen of the United States of America. To be proud, we really feel that we have a Constitution. The first lesson Constitution teach me is that not to lie, which is the same lesson I learned when I was 3 years old. just to prevent and longer nose. Right? Anyway, joking. With me today is my friend, Mr. Chang Hollis, and he is the candidate for the 28th Congressional District for Congress. To me, I support anybody running that position, right? Anybody, if you, oh, by the way, the incumbent on that position, including incumbent at that position, and whoever, if they want to come on my show to voice out though, give me a call, 626-856-3889. I will promise I will handle you like an extinguished guest. Right. Today is one of them. All right, for that position. However, we're touching base by taking no political stand, no partisanship. We're talking about common sense, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned we started by talking about Hunter. We started by talking about Whistleblower. We started talking about the announcement of the impeachment. Are the three elements the only issues that upset you, quote unquote?
No, not at all. Unfortunately,
there are more?
Yes, there are issues that actually affect the district, and this is why this whole impeachment process and the Russia investigation actually really got me up to run, because everyone is focused on this facade and they're not talking about what's going on in our district. Because in our district, we have 60,000 homeless people on the streets. That's in LA County. We have some of the worst rated roads, we have some of the worst energy, worst water, some of the worst schools, and yet we all pay the highest taxes of any state in the nation. So we're consistently losing out on what our leaders have promised us. And it's getting worse and worse. We've seen gas go through the roof the past few days because of the gas tax, and also what people don't realize is that California imports most of its oil from Saudi Arabia. So when Saudi Arabia got attacked by Iran, our gas prices go up. Many people don't realize that. They think that, oh, California is part of the United States. But what the socialist progressive Democrats in California are doing is they're trying to pull California off of dependency from the United States, because they like to think of themselves as their own kind of de facto country, primarily because we have a large economy. But at the end of the day, this state is falling apart, and it's because of these policies that they've been enacting. And the only way that we're going to put an end to that, and the only way that we're going to be able to turn California around and bring it back to the beautiful state that I grew up in, is by bringing fresh faces to politics, bringing youth to politics. Because at the end of the day, we don't need more politicians, we don't need more lawyers. We need citizens who understand their districts and understand their issues to stand up and tell the establishment, we're tired of hearing what your crackerjack, you're just normal kind of, your everyday politician is going to tell us. We've been promised the world in Los Angeles by both sides, and no one has delivered for us. Instead, we've just gotten a hotbed of corruption, and we've gotten a ton of citizens who are being left out in the cold. And that's why I'm running, to try to cut through the fog of all of these investigations. Because at the end of the day, what the American people need to realize is the investigations are theater. They're keeping you busy. They don't want you to actually look at what they're doing in the House of Representatives, because if you actually look at what they're doing, there are no laws being passed. Adam Schiff, my representative, hasn't been a part of a decent law for our district in at least 7 years. No bill that he has put forth in the past 7 years has anything to do with our district.
Thank you for using the word theater, but I would recommend entertainers will be probably the politicians so far. With me and you are in the same business, entertainment business. Right? Because they entertain people by creating as much of the funny laws as possible. Right? However, they are forgetting our people, or California, or your district, whoever is in power is forgetting our problem. And thank God you mentioned the problem about homelessness. Right? And by the way, now that you mentioned it, I may go ahead and find out your position.
Yes.
Because my voters, I mean my viewers might need that, please.
Yes, absolutely. So with the homeless issue, what we've seen is California and Los Angeles as a whole have thrown billions of dollars at the problem. And the branding behind it has been, it's a housing issue. So if we buy enough housing, then we'll be able to help. And what we've seen is that has failed. We voted for $3 billion in funding to help build about 10,000 housing units in Los Angeles. We have now found out that $3 billion was supposed to last 10 years. It's lasted 3 years, and they're going to miss their housing target by at least 60%.
Where did the money go?
Exactly. And that's what I keep asking is, where is the money? And they keep asking for more money. Eric Garcetti just recently, a couple of weeks ago, asked the federal government for an additional $650 million, which my policy is, if you want federal money, it's time to open up your books. It's time to show us what you've been spending money on. Because at the end of the day, what we have seen is there's been no plan on how to attack this. It's been scattershot. It's been just throw as much money as you can, we'll buy as much property as we can, but what nobody's realizing is the bill wasn't created to adjust for inflation over that 10-year period, and they're buying properties at the highest value possible because the market is at its highest value, and they're buying them in some of the most expensive areas of town, like downtown Los Angeles. So it makes no sense what they're doing. At the end of the day, if we want to fix the problem, the way you fix it is through national mental health reform. We have to bring back mental health facilities. We have to bring back funding for mental health facilities. There was a bill in 2016 called House Resolution 2646. It passed through the Congress. It had a ton of amazing changes and reforms in it, and it was put together by a Republican member of Congress. By the time it got all of the bipartisan support, all of the funding aspects of the bill were stripped out of it. So all it was a nice bill to say, we'll set up these organizations that'll come up with a plan, and that was about it. There's no legitimate funding, no legitimate way to actually tackle the issue. Now that bill has been sitting in the Senate for the past 2.5 years or so. It's probably not going to go anywhere, and if it does, it won't have the effect that it needs. That's the issue with the system.
All right.
Is the people in Congress are too focused on cutting things out.
We decided to give them $3 billion.
Yeah.
And the $3 billion was supposed to last for 10 years.
Yes.
To tackle the problem of homelessness.
Yes.
And yet, within 3 years, the money is gone. Money is gone. Money was gone, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think, or do you agree with me that the voters deserve to ask a question, where did the money go?
Absolutely.
Right.
I voted for that bill.
Yeah,
I
too.
voted for all of these tax
Me
increases
too,
because they sold
Speaking
us
of
a bill
voting
of
for a
goods.
bill, though, did you, do you recall Proposition 6?
Yes.
Of
I
last
do.
year?
Yes. That was.
All right. Can you tell my audiences what Proposition 6 happened?
So Proposition 6 was the repeal of the gas tax. And unfortunately, during that time, Sacramento had a huge effort to fight against the repeal of the gas tax. Because what we were told by Gavin Newsom is the gas tax is going to go to fix the roads.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're always told.
Infrastructure.
Exactly, infrastructure. Now, every time we raise the gas tax, the governor at the time, which before it was Jerry Brown, will institute either a constitutional amendment or an executive order that redirects the funds into something else, which is why California's roads are rated as a D. Right? All up and down the state, we have some of the worst rated roads in this nation, yet we pay to keep them that way, essentially. Now this time around, the people decided to stand up and fight against the gas tax and try to repeal it, and there was a movement. If you polled the average citizen, it had a huge backing behind it. The problem is the Secretary of State came out and implemented new rules on how you could name your propositions and how you could explain them on the ballots.
All right.
And so it made it to a point where they couldn't explain that it was a repeal of the gas tax, and you had to vote yes on Prop 6, and so everyone thought that you were voting yes to up the gas tax.
The explanation of the I still recall the explanation was for the Proposition 6 was that your yes would mean a cut down of infrastructure repair money.
Exactly.
That's the wording.
Exactly. They completely
As a matter of
handicapped
fact,
us.
you were yes in the supporting of the gas tax appeal.
Yeah,
right?
they really cut us off at the knees because it confused the voters enough to where they were looking at it going, well, I don't want to get rid of infrastructure, but I don't want my gas to go up.
And the second question is that the money, according to last week, is only Tuesday.
Yeah.
I heard this last Friday.
Yeah.
The money was gone.
Just like that.
Was allocated somewhere.
Yeah. Just like every time before, Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order and he moved the gas tax money that is being taken out of your pockets right now into high-speed rail.
Yeah.
The dead high-speed rail project that the federal government is demanding that they get their money back on, Gavin Newsom is putting money back into it to try to finish that little corridor from Bakersfield to Merced, I believe, although there hasn't been any work done on it in months. In fact, if you go to Fresno, you can see giant structures that look like Stonehenge on the side of the...
Spearheaded, that once you're elected, though, will you fight for political line or politicians' line?
No.
Fight against that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have to fight against corruption at all
I believe,
costs.
my friends, our politicians do not only lie, they lied openly, blatantly.
Yes.
All right. My dear friends, let's take another short break. We will come back to wrap it up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everything we have to continue to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host English News every morning.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, which is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry with 400 years of history, hand-forged by 10 generations of #1 craftsmen. Back to the show. In the show today, I have the chance to touch base with this individual, a wonderful gentleman. The more I talk to, the more I feel that I need to make it clear that I want to support him.
Thank you.
Because once again, swearingly, by taking no political stand, I feel we are talking about the issue. Let's do it the right way. Or let's do it right, simply.
Exactly.
Let's do it right, all right? Good.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you for telling me more issues by which you feel yourself upset.
Absolutely.
Anything more?
Yes, well...
I believe there are more.
There are. And actually, to hit back on infrastructure, I think the only way that we're going to be able to repair California's infrastructure is by implementing a national infrastructure bill. I actually support the president's position on that. I think we need to band together to try to find a solution for infrastructure that doesn't just take from the taxpayer's pocket. We need to couple with private industry, and we need to help rebuild this nation into a 21st century nation. As we've seen, our roads, bridges, dams, everything is starting to collapse, and we need to lead the charge. I mean, we're the largest economy in the world, and everybody looks to us to lead by example, so we need to lead by example in that. We have to tackle immigration, but we need to do it in a serious manner. We can't keep throwing these political footballs back and forth and just trying to get the other person to trip up and make a mistake so then we can take the credit for it. We need to look at the actual immigration issue and realize that we want as many people to come to this country as possible. That is what this country is founded on. Come here and you can achieve your dreams. That is what we all believe in. However, you cannot skip all of the people that have lined up to do it for years. I have a friend who it took him 15 years to get his citizenship, and it cost him $11,000 to do it. And he did it.
You're right.
He waited that whole time. And I think obviously the immigration system, it's broken right now. I think we need to to expand the amount of people that we let in, the types of people that we let in. That way people aren't trying to go around the system. I think we need to add more funding for more judges. I think we need to expand the courts.
Make sure we do it on a fair basis.
Exactly. We have to make sure that
everybody has to stay in the line, because there is a line.
Yes, and that honestly, that shows your dedication to this country. If you're willing to sacrifice to get here, just like so many generations have before. I mean, all of the people who have migrated to this country have sacrificed to be here. And if you're willing to stand with us and be a part of that, then together we'll be able to make the greatest country known to man. If you're having to come here illegally and stay in the shadows, that doesn't help you. That doesn't help you succeed in this country. We don't want people in the shadows. We want Americans. We want us all to be Americans. That's the point of this country. That's why it's so beautiful. And like I said, we need mental health reform as well. That's really at the top of my list. It's something I'm extremely passionate about. We need to also attack affordable housing, which the only way we're going to be able to tackle that is by tackling the restrictive regulatory system in Los Angeles and California that prevents us from building buildings. Right now in Los Angeles, it takes an extra 5 years and approximately $100,000 on your permit just to build a building. So all of that cost, you have a building sitting empty for 5 years, that's all that cost is going to get passed down to the renter. That's why our rent is through the roof and why you're not going to see it go down anytime soon. So if we want affordable housing, we need to deregulate, and then we need to incentivize independent industry to come back into Los Angeles and California and reinvest in that area. Right now, we're seeing business flock out of California.
Oh, yeah.
And it's ruining this state.
Everybody's running away.
Exactly, and we have to stop that from happening. But the only way we stop that from happening is by holding politicians accountable on both sides of the ballot. Because at the end of the day in Los Angeles, it's not my constituents' fault that Adam Schiff is their representative. They have had nobody else to vote for in 20 years other than him. There has not been a legitimate candidate that has come through and has spoken to them and has made them understand why they need to vote against him. Now they know why they need to vote against him. And that's why I'm stepping up, because as a voter in this district, I'm going directly to my people and telling them, look, guys, we've been sold a bill of goods. And they're lying to us consistently.
I was almost about to ask you, like I said, to start with, who you are, what have you been doing, and what will you do, why you running, right?
Yes.
It looks like you have that answer already.
Yes, sir.
And now the last thing remaining is that, what will you do once you're elected?
Yes, well, once I'm elected, we are going to push for mental health reform. That's something that every event that I go to, every person in politics that I meet, every person that's attached to the administration that I meet, I am pushing mental health reform full with everything that I've got. The same thing with infrastructure. These two things are the two things that matter the most to our district, because our district is falling apart. We need help, and we need people to look at these issues.
Let me ask you something sensitive, all right?
Yes.
There are certain issues belonging to the left,
yes,
and issues belonging to the right.
Of course.
And there are, of course, as a natural existence, really existence, that there are issues can be this, can be that, can be belonging to the right, belonging to the left.
Absolutely.
For example, immigration issues,
Yes.
right? For example, gun control issues, right?
Yeah.
For example, mental health, health or health issues, right? So, can you please, right, ask people to find a way not make them our partisan issues?
yes.
So,
Well,
how will you work to make them not partisan issues?
Well, honestly, the best way to do that is we have to stop reacting emotionally. The way that the media, and again, we work in TV and film. I've been doing it for 10 years, and the way that the media works is that they play on your emotions, because they know that if they can get you mad, angry. Go to hollisforcongress.com. That's HOLLIS forcongress.com.
Not a letter for it.
Yes,
Just the spelling for
just
it.
FOR. And if you go to our social media, we've got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's Hollis for Congress, but that's with the number 4. So switch it a little bit.
All right, good.
But what we're seeing in the district is people are tired of partisan politics. They're tired of the back and forth.
All right.
They're tired of Republicans
That's what we
and
started
Democrats.
with.
Exactly. They want to see new politicians that are willing to reach across the aisle and solve the issues. And so I think you're going to see throughout California and throughout Los Angeles a huge shift politically over the next 10 years because we can't survive the way that we're going. This state is going to break. Our city is going to break if we don't step up and fix it ourselves.
To wrap it up, you have your campaign slogan?
Yes. Well, honestly, we have a couple. Right now we're working on a new one, and it's called we're the new face of the new Republican Party in California. We're trying to change the image of what Republicans are in this state, primarily because Hollywood and the entertainment industry has painted us as these almost evil kind of villains. But I'm here in front of you, essentially tearing down all of those ideas and trying to bring common sense back to the political process.
All right. In other words, you want to do it better.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, my friend, we're a little over time, but we're worth it. So with me is my good friend, candidate for Congressional District 28th, Mr. Chang Hollis. And I decided I like this gentleman already, and I can't wait to extend my support. So as a show host. So I'll see you next time. Oh, by the way, I have a feeling this will not be the only show between him and I. We will do some more. So stay with us. We will show up some more days.